Back for another edition of In the Huddle. Carl Dukes, put him up, along with my man Jason La Canfora, and of course Brian Balding are part of this podcast as well. Listen, we're at a point in the season, guys, where we know what we think teams are and what we think teams aren't. And this was another weekend of just that. Let's start, because we're recording this on Tuesday, Jason, with what's going on. I mean, we got to discuss it. We don't want to, but we have to. What happened last night with the Cowboys? Because Joe Mixon ran for 3 touchdowns. Texans never, did not lead in this game. The stadium is falling apart before the damn game starts as they open the roof. There's a lot of things going on with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But now you're like, okay, let's just be open and honest about this. Where do they go? Who are they going to bring in? Because we know Dak's not coming back. This team's not going anywhere anytime soon. How do you try to attempt to get right in the offseason? That's where the focus is. Who do they bring in? Because I keep hearing Deion Sanders. I don't buy that.
I don't buy it either. Not to say that Deion won't have an opportunity or opportunities, maybe even a robust field, but I think Deion's in a unique situation because of his son. And because his son is the best quarterback in this draft, and there's not as many quarterbacks in this draft as a lot of people would have tried to tell you in the past, and they're going to have a lot of leverage. So could that be a package deal? I don't think it's out of the question. Look, the Cowboys just re-up with Dak, and he got hurt, and good luck trading that contract. So I don't think Jerry wants a head coach who has as much personality as Deion, who is going to have as much jam as Deion, who's going to get in front of the media, you know what I mean? And he might just be in an interesting mood, and he might have a time of it, And Jerry wants puppets. Like, that's what he wants. Deion's nobody's puppet. So I don't see that as a match. The biggest problem with the Dallas Cowboys is the owner's a buffoon, and he's also the general manager, which makes him a double buffoon. So, he's someone who's not grounded in reality. He's someone who believes his own bullshit and mystique. He's his own hype man. Like, that's a bad dynamic. Like, I'm old enough to remember 8-10 years ago when they started having some good drafts, and the narrative was Stephen Jones can keep Jerry intact.
Yeah.
Right? Stephen will be the good cop and to Jerry's bad cop, or actually flip it, the bad cop to Jerry's good cop, and he'll stop him falling in love with all these players, and he'll stop him running it like it's a summer camp. Well, you tell me. Maybe that worked for a minute, couple of years, if that was the guardrails. But they're not there now, and the man's getting older, and I'm just going to say it, he's getting closer to death, and he's going to do it his way. He's going to go down swinging. Like, nothing's changing there. His worst instincts are being reinforced by his older age. It's just a fact. They're not run in a meaningful, a reasonable, sort of measured manner. They're not built from the inside out. They're built like an 80-year-old would build a football team. Let me throw this here and let me throw that there. I don't have time to spend 3 drafts to rebuild an offensive line like I did 10 years ago, right? And focus on that. Like, I don't have time to rebuild it through the trenches. Let's try to make Micah Parsons a one-man gang on defense. Let's just have Dak throw it 60 times a game to tight end and CeeDee Lamb. And, it worked for us against really shitty teams last year. Why can't it work again? Like, Cowboy fans, you're hopeless. You have no hope. It's not getting any better anytime soon. I got a news flash for you. This isn't even rock bottom. Rock bottom's when your $60 million quarterback's back in there next year and the same stuff's happening. That'll be rock bottom. I don't even want to waste any more time on him. I mean, he's a slum millionaire. Like, he's a billionaire slum landlord. Like, it's the whole thing was a metaphor for their franchise. And the fact that, like, they don't even want to put Trey Lance on the field tells you how bad Trey Lance is.
Yeah.
Like, if you think that's the answer, no. Jerry wants to sell hope. If he could sell that hope, he'd be selling it. But it's so bad at practice against their scrubs that, that's not going to win anybody over. That's not going to make anybody, stay tuned for 4 hours on Thanksgiving. Like, I just don't think that's the answer. And Cooper Rush for a backup quarterback is fine. The team sucks. It's a bad team. It's bad in the trenches on both sides of the ball, like horribly bad on both sides of the ball. They've been propped up by that division for years. I mean, if that was a good division, this would have been exposed even more longer ago. So I don't know. Carl, like they're a waste. They're a waste of our time, a waste of my breath, a waste of your breath.
You know, and I know that that's true, but we also know there are so many Cowboy fans and guys that have jumped on board over the years that are clinging to whatever they can cling to, and whether we know. We talk about this because it still moves the needle. The Cowboys still move the needle. As bad as they are, they still move the needle. Now, I want to say this, and then we can move on because you're absolutely right. But we had to address it because of the Monday night game, and it played out. Everything you're saying is on point, but I hope that people hear what you're saying about them being a bad football team. This has a lot less to do with who you bring in as the head coach.
Yes.
Guys, Vince Lombardi's not fixing this, okay? The flaw is in the makeup of the team. And until you can fix that, and that takes years. That's not one draft, okay? That's not one free agent period. So those are the fundamental flaws with the team. And it brings me to this, and then we can move on. If you're Micah Parsons, you want to stay?
He'll stay. Because he'll get his bag, and he likes being a Cowboy, and they're on national TV all the time. And here's why Micah will stay. Micah ever has a problem with how he's being used. If he ever has a problem with the D coordinator or the head coach, who will both be puppets because it's Jerry's show, he just goes to the main man.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. He'll get his bag, and he'll be empowered, and the whole thing will continue. But again, why did Dak ultimately get his money? Because Jerry Jones is 80 years old, and the alternative was live through a terrible year, let him walk, right? Try to draft the third or fourth best quarterback because we're probably not getting the first or second, and play the long game and start drafting offensive linemen again. He's not doing that. That's what you need. He's not doing that. That's no fun for him. That gets him nowhere. You know what? You don't sell offensive lineman jerseys. They don't sell real well.
Jason Canfora, Carl Dukes, it's in the Huddle. Subscribe, like us, tell your friends. It's in the Huddle pod on YouTube. You can watch us there, guys. We knew this was going to be a dogfight on Sunday, and it was. Ravens Steelers. I'm sitting there, and I know you're locked in. And I'm like, I don't miss a play. I don't miss a snap. Like, you just didn't know which way this thing was going to go. And the damn Steelers, they kick field goals and they win the game. But Jason, what happened to Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter for the Ravens? Is this a topic of discussion, or was this simply, hey, the Steelers defense at the end of the day made the plays necessary in the fourth quarter to not allow them to get that touchdown or the 2-point conversion?
Well, here's the dirty little secret about the Ravens run game. For the last 5 weeks, it's pedestrian. Okay, they had a 5-week span where they started leaning into the 21 and 22 and 12 and 13 personnel. They got heavy, and they were throwing from under center at a heavy, and so you have to respect that. And then they're getting a little bit lighter boxes, and Henry didn't have a great start to the year, so I think some teams were like, hey, maybe this isn't a great fit. And then he road graded a bunch of teams that can't stop the run whatsoever, right? Like the Dallas Cowboys, for instance. And then if you look at, they had a 5-week stretch where their rushing EPA was 50% better than the next best team. Like, they were like plus 28, and Jacksonville was second, like at plus 14. Like, they're off the charts. It was historically great. They were running for over 7 yards a carry for a 5-week stretch. That wasn't going to be sustainable. It's not. Derrick Henry's got 200 carries under his belt. Derrick Henry is over 30, and teams make adjustments. Their rushing EPA with Derrick Henry in this football game was negative 1.9. It was twice as bad as any other game this year. And the Baltimore Ravens, as much as they were this far above the pack in rushing EPA for that 5-week span, over the last 5 weeks, they're 18th. Like, they're below average. Like, design runs with Derrick Henry, they're below average. Like, Derrick Henry is good for one explosive run a week, and the rest is 2.5, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, and it's running them into they average third and 8.5 yards per carry because their early down rushing sucked. And Lamar had his worst game all year. But, like, Derrick Henry has one pitch play for 31 yards. He's got 12 other carries for 30. Like, and it's been that way every week. During the 5-game span, he had 14 explosive runs. In the 4 games since, he's got 4. Like, it's not more Derrick Henry. They live and die with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar had his first bad game of the year. But their passing game efficiencies are off the charts. And if Lamar had even a half decent game and used his legs a little bit more and hit the open guys and there were free runners, they win. Like, Derrick Henry's not going to get bigger, stronger, faster through the course of the season at this stage of his career. And again, in the division, they know. Cleveland, shut it down. Cincinnati can't stop the run. Go look at what they did against Derrick Henry. They bottled him up for 4 quarters at home. He had the 51-yarder to put the game away. Yes, but like that was an overtime. You're not always going to get to overtime. And the game in Baltimore, Derrick Henry couldn't do it. It was Lamar throwing the ball all over the place. Like, Derrick Henry's a really good football player. They caught the league by storm for 5 weeks. They're never getting back there again. And they know it because Todd Monken was telling you, when they moved the ball, they did what I said they should do. Get into your 2-minute, even if it's not 2-minute. Get Justice Hill on the field to help pass protect because the right side of your offensive line sucks. They're kids. They're not ready for this. And throw the ball that way. Throw it out of some spread stuff. That's when they moved the ball. Like, the defense stepped up. Best defensive game of the year by far. Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington. They might finally have a safety tandem they can trust. There's some positives to take out of that. But Pittsburgh's in their head. And that was playoff Lamar. That was sped up, skittish, like I'm going to do it my way. Stubborn Lamar. Just when you've got a chance to run 15 yards for the first down, take it. Don't hold it 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, and throw a 20% completion, percentage type throw down the sidelines to Rashad Bateman. Like,
it was
like the Kansas City playoff game all over again.
Those plays, Jason, that right there, what you just described, to me, as I watched it play out, it was almost as if Lamar again wanted to prove to you, right? I'm more than that.
He's in his own head,
dude. Do you
just play the game?
Do you do not? You don't have to worry about us worried about you throwing the ball 20 yards down the field because you've held on to it. And now you're going to hit the open man. Also, Baltimore turned it over 3 times. That did not help. Nope. So here's the deal. They'll see each other again, right? That was the Steelers' first, division game. Yes. My guess is Baltimore will get revenge at home. It'll be similar, a close game. I don't know if it'll be 18-16 or whatever, but that's my guess. But my thing is, if they meet in the playoffs, Jason, that's the concern. Yeah. It's not this regular season. I think, again, Baltimore will be ready in Baltimore. If they meet in the playoffs, I got to ride with Pittsburgh again because I just feel like what you just said is playing out. And sometimes when athletes get that stuff in their head where, you're 1-3 or 1-4 against the team, it doesn't bother me. Bullshit.
Yeah, it's a boogeyman.
Yeah, man.
I ghost. Look, Pittsburgh's got elite special teams. Baltimore's special teams is dog shit. Pittsburgh's got an elite defense. We'll see what Baltimore's can become. And Pittsburgh now is a top 10-ish offense since Russell got there. Like, Pittsburgh won the game, and Arthur Smith, I thought, had a terrible game. He was using weird personnel in the red zone. Arthur Smith was, I think, trying to prove I can be a head coach. Russell was way too content to just throw it into the stands. Like, Russell throws a terrible red zone interception instead of putting the game away. Even a field goal there might put the game away. And they still win. Like, it's not like they played an A game either. Like, they held the ball for 36 minutes and 22 seconds against the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I think it's a bad matchup for the Ravens. Yep. Like, Patrick Queen on the other side spying Lamar Jackson was a problem. Like, that was a problem for the Baltimore Ravens. Like, Pittsburgh can expose the warts on that offensive line. Pittsburgh can take away the heavy runs that, like I said, for 5 weeks road graded the league. Pittsburgh's awesome against runs 21, 22, 12, and 13 all year long. They're the best. They're averaging under 3 yards a carry against that stuff. You're good luck beating them that way, right? They tried it. Didn't go anywhere. Like, yeah, I'm with you. I think it is a bad matchup for the Baltimore Ravens. I think Kansas City and Pittsburgh are kind of their kryptonite.
Let's move on, Jason, as we talk about what happened this last week in the National Football League. Recapping some games, guys. Believe it or not, Bo Nix is now, I think, one of the front runners for Rookie of the Year. We've talked a lot about Jaden Daniels, but Bo Nix absolutely destroyed the Falcons, throwing the ball 85% completion rate, which is sick. 4 touchdowns, 300-plus yards. He was so efficient, and they played out that Sean Payton game plan to a T. But let's talk about Bo Nix, because we knew about the Broncos' defense. It was pretty damn good. And you said it when I think they played the Ravens a few weeks back. They got exposed. That was a weird, we're going to the East Coast. Okay, fine. The Broncos' defense is really damn good. They're top 5 in almost every category. And so now you throw into this mix, Jason, Bo Nix playing at this level. This might be a dangerous little team here that has a chance to make the playoffs.
He's really interesting to me. I thought this would be a blowout, and I thought that Sean would unleash this quarterback. Like, they can't really run the ball. Like Javonte Williams is kind of a plotter. Like, the McLaughlin, like the third down back, like I think Sean's always torn. How much should I use him? How much can I use him? Like, I'd like to use him more, but he's not the biggest guy in the world. And I just think he looked at this matchup and said, we're finally back home for the first time in 3 weeks. This kid's feeling good about himself. I'm going to take it to another level. We're going to throw the ball on these jamokes until they stop us. And I'm not sure they're going to stop us. And they didn't. Bo Nix, the last 4 weeks, has a quarterback rating of 114.5. He's top 5 in the NFL. He's completing 73% of his passes in that span for 257 yards a game. Big boy stuff. 9 passing touchdowns to 1 turnover. And what I love about it, Carl, is a lot of times with a young quarterback, when they are having success, they've got like that one guy and they lock in on him, and it's feast or famine, and I'm going to force it to him come hell or high water, and I'll live with a couple picks. But like, just go look at Bo Nix, who he's throwing touchdowns passes to. He's throwing I looked at like his last 12 touchdown passes, and you don't see the same name twice. Like, you just don't. It's everybody from the fullback to the back. Like, I think Troutman's in there twice, the tight end, but like the backup tight end's in there. The fullback's in there. Both running backs are in there. All 4 wide receivers are in there. Like, he's seeing the field really well. He's finding that matchup. He's not crapping his pants in the red zone. And he's got a default with the legs that he can take off and burn you that way and burn you bad that way. And Sean's willing to risk it a little bit because his defense can turn you over. His defense can make you go 3 and out from any point on the field and get Bo Nix the ball back. Like, again, the first half, they were right there with the Baltimore Ravens. And Bo Nix was a little jittery, and he missed 3 open throws that he normally makes, and that's a whole different ball game at the half. And then the next week, he doesn't back down to Kansas City, and they probably should have beat Kansas City. Yep. And now he just beat the crap out of Atlanta, and I got news for you. Get on. I got it at 3. It's already at 5. By the weekend, it'll be 6.5. Get on Bo Nix and Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos right now. They're going to go to Las Vegas. They've been better on the road than at home, and they're going to gut. They're going to gut Antonio Pierce and that Raiders defense, what's left of it. They're going to gut it. And Bo Nix is going to throw for over 2 touchdowns again. He's done it 3 of the last 4 games.
Yeah.
And they're going to keep building this young man up. Like, there's 3 playoff teams in that division. Like, there are 3 playoff teams in the AFC West. And there was one team that's going to fire their coach.
Yeah, it's true. What's crazy, Jason, is this is basically a year removed from saying we're done with Russ and we'll take the cap hit.
Yes.
That's the most impressive thing to me. Screw all this other stuff. We're going to move on. We don't get along. We don't laugh at the same jokes. He's not what I want. Then you go draft a guy that everybody said, wait a minute, what the hell are you taking Bo Nix for? He's not that good. And now you're on the cusp of really showing everybody that, hey, this isn't even a complete team, but we're going to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback.
Well, and they didn't go out and try to add all these fancy pieces around him like Chicago or whatever, right? Like, remind me, I believe they traded Jerry Jeudy. Did they not?
They did.
Like, but they invested heavily in their offensive line, and they got a shit-kicking defensive line. Yep. So, like, that's a pretty, like, that, and they got good special teams. Like, that'll play. Like, but it wasn't about, we got to draft this receiver for him, and we got to do that, and we got to do that. Like, no, it's about if I coach this kid up right and I teach him to make high percentage throws and to read the field the way I want him to read the field, short, intermediate, occasional deep, we can move the ball and we could be all right. And like, I mean, if they did have a real like explosive feature back, which I'm sure Sean will get next year,
he will.
Then that thing is going to be, I think it'll be formidable. Like, again, I'm not coordinating this kid. We still got to see. He'll hit adversity. How does he respond to that? But Denver's going to be a tough out. And I'm just telling you, like, if you told me that Denver went somewhere, like even Arrowhead in the playoffs and beat them, like, I would take Denver to beat them over a lot of teams that are going to be in this AFC playoff field. Like, they're going to have nothing to lose once they get in. And Sean knows how to get a team to play bigger than it is. Like, good luck. Whoever gets them, whatever division winner gets them, good luck with that.
I know you probably know the story because it's when Kamara was drafted by the Saints. But for those who don't, speaking of him finding a running back, they weren't even looking at him. They were working out somebody else. And Sean Payton said, "Who's this guy? He's catching everything. Every ball he's getting thrown at. He's got moves. He's his quick twitch. All this stuff that he was looking for. Who's that?" And they said, "Oh, coach, that's Alvin Kamara from Tennessee." And they end up drafting him. And you see what happened. My point is, you have to know what you're looking for. The vision to say, I can have this in my offense. That Taysom Hill thing. It's still playing out for the damn Saints. That's
he had 188 scrimmage yards last week.
It's crazy. That's Sean Payton. So I'm with you. I'm looking at the number right now. I think it already went up, Jason, to 5.
Yeah, I got it at 3. It's going to, like, if you wait till the weekend, I don't see money coming in on the Raiders. There's no sharp money to come in on the Raiders. More people study this game, they're going to say it's a bloodbath. Like, Denver's 4-1-1 against the spread on the road. Like, Denver's been a pretty good road covering team since Sean got there last year. Yeah,
I'm with you. All right, it's in the huddle, guys. We're talking about what went down. Before we talk about the debacle with the Bears, we got to talk about the 49ers. Here's where I'm at. Windows closed.
Yeah.
They're getting long in the tooth. A few years ago, they had the best linebacking core and arguably the fastest linebacking core in the NFL. Best offensive left tackle, one of the best offensive lines. We could go on and on. Think about where this team is now. And some people say, well, you know what? Ayuk's hurt, and that's – no. McCaffrey was hurt. Yes, he's back now. But, Jason, the way they're losing games, they haven't lost games like this in years past. And Sunday, if you didn't see it, Seattle fights their way back. Geno scores, and all of a sudden, the ball game's over. It's a game that the 49ers probably should have won. I have my real concerns about this 49er team.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not as if, again, everybody thinks that just every year they're going to go on this 5 or 6 game run and then get in the playoffs. I don't see it, Jason. I just don't this year.
Carl, they're not getting in the playoffs. They're not getting in the playoffs. Look, I mean, the Bosa situation bears monitoring. Like, I don't think he's playing a full season. The Trent Williams situation bears monitoring. You start seeing those guys in and out of games all the time, forget about it. This team is not good enough to overcome that. It's a pedestrian offensive and defensive line with those guys. You take them out of the mix, it becomes a downright liability. They did not handle losing a Super Bowl very well the last time around, and this is a lot like it. And it started in the offseason with contractual discontent and guys not being around. The red zone offense is totally broken, and you take George Kittle out of it, and they have no ideas. They have nothing. Like, you really want to win a football game, Kyle? You really want to win a football game? Use your best back, Mason, and not the guy who's clearly still hobbled after an injury that might bother him the rest of his career in Christian McCaffrey. Like, they're a horrible fourth quarter team. They're a horribly coached fourth quarter team. Like, I love Seattle money line at halftime. Like, that game's close. They keep it close for the third. Seattle's going to win the fourth quarter. Seattle's going to win that game. 49ers aren't doing that. I don't buy anything about them. Their special teams are god-awful. Across the board, god-awful. They don't cover. They don't return. The punt game sucks. The kicking game really sucks. Like, they don't have any belief in it. You scapegoat your defensive coordinator for 4 or 5 times. Eventually, you're going to come to the conclusion that, some of those guys could coach, and it wasn't all on them. And this cronyism, and we'll bring my buddy Staley in, because I'm friends with his agent. Well, how's that working out? I mean, I don't know who's winning that division, but it's not going to be them. It's not going to be them. I don't buy anything about them. They're lucky. They're lucky their record's not worse. And yeah, I think the window is closing. And the Brock Purdy decision is going to be fascinating.
Huge.
It's going to be fascinating because the numbers will still warrant his representatives saying he should at the very least be in that Tua Lawrence range.
Yep.
And they'll have a strong argument to make. but there's no way in hell I would give him that money. No way in hell.
Well,
especially as that roster starts to decline around him.
Correct. That's what I was about to say, Jason. I mean, my thing is, if you're saying, all right, projecting over the next 3 to 4 years, are we Super Bowl contenders, or are we in this strange rebuild and regroup situation? I can't do it either. I think it will be a bad decision if they decide to do that. And not taking anything away from Purdy, but it's just where you are. The 49ers, I believe, are in trouble. All right, let's finish up with the Bears. What the hell was Matt Eberflus doing? What? Why not try or attempt to run a play, get a little bit closer, maybe get a better angle on the field goal, like move the ball to the center of the field? Like, I don't know what he was doing, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, the Bears are going to lose another game because of their freaking coach?
He was being Matt Eberflus. I mean, what would you expect? What has anyone ever seen from him in anything close to close and late critical junctures that makes him think he can close out football games? Like were you watching in Landover, Maryland 3 weeks ago? What, huh? Of course they effed it up. I'm surprised they kept the game as close as they did. And the defense, finally sort of showed some fight and conviction. And I guess they finally sort of got over the long hangover from blowing the Hail Mary. That definitely dogged them for a couple of weeks. And getting back home helped. I mean, Eberflus on the road has been abject failure. Eberflus at home can at least hold serve a little bit. And it was good to see the quarterback bounce back. And you figured, hey, you get that little bump when you change the voice in his ear, and it's a little different with a new play caller. I don't think that's going to prove to be particularly sustainable. Like, they've got a bad offensive line.
Yeah.
They got Minnesota coming in this week. Like, that's probably going to be tough. Like, that'll probably be an ugly, low-scoring game. Brian Flores' defense, I think, will be very tuned up to face this young quarterback. So, I mean, Matt Eberflus he wouldn't coach my NFL team. Like, there's no way Matt Eberflus would have ever got his hands on Caleb Williams, or anybody Matt Eberflus wanted to hire on his staff would ever get their hands on Caleb Williams if I was running the Bears. The Bears can't get out of their own way, and their ownership sucks, and it's sucked forever. And they're distracted by the stadium thing, and all. Like, it's just, they've wrecked a lot of quarterbacks. Like, they've wrecked plenty of them. Like, they're really good at that. They're a lot better at effing up young quarterbacks than they are cultivating, incubating, and developing them. Like, they've got no track record of that. They've got no institutional knowledge about how to do that organizationally. They don't know how to hire the right people. Like, they don't know how to couple the football side from a personnel standpoint with the coaching side. Like, they have no ability to do that. And while I really like the hire of Kevin Warren to come in there, Kevin Warren's real distracted by the stadium thing, like their team president. And like, I don't know, man. I don't know how much autonomy he has in terms of putting together a new front office. Like, I think they're going to extend Ryan Poles. Everything I'm hearing from other front offices is that it sounds like Poles is going to get an extension. Like, so who's hiring the next coach? Like, what are the odds that guy knows what he's doing? I mean,
yeah. I mean,
good luck.
They had a vision on the draft and what they wanted to do, but it was easy. I mean, let's be honest. This was easy. You were going quarterback, and you knew we knew that before the college season started last year where that was going. It is now moving forward. How do you team build? And how do you get the right offensive linemen and defensive linemen and corners, etc.? Those pieces that you're absolutely going to need to go win a championship. So, yeah, the quarterback thing, I always say, Jason, like, if you got the first pick in a situation like the Bears over the last couple of years where, they were in pole position to do whatever they wanted to do, that's the easy stuff. The hard stuff is what you're talking about, hiring the right coach and then those building blocks. That is my concern when you look at the Bears down the road. I'm glad Caleb played better. I'm with you. Here's the thing for me. What's up with Jordan Love?
That's what I was going to say. I wanted us to stay on this game because I came in really bullish on the Packers.
Me too.
I got Jordan Love to win MVP tickets. Like, I went from skeptic to, by the playoffs last year, I'm taking plus 450 on the money line, Green Bay to win at Dallas because, they're going to win and they're going to kick the shit out of them. But like, LaFleur's got to have some serious conversations with this young man.
Yeah, something's going on there.
Like, there is a disconnect. Like the low percentage throws, the fling it up for grabs, the just obvious interceptions. The gunslinger thing is just out of control. Like they are not managing football games. Like, and they're winning. Like they're still finding ways to win. They're kind of like Kansas City in that regard. Like the quarterback's not playing nearly as well as he has in the past. They're turning it over too much. They're not amazing at too much, but they're really, really good at winning football games and beating teams they should beat. But like, they're giving me a lot of pause. Like I want to believe in them, but I'm finding it difficult. Like, yes, the special teams is finally no longer an abject failure. Like, yes, I'm buying mostly what I'm seeing from the defense, and I think they made a good hire there. It's the offense. It's the offense that I can't buy.
It's bad. I don't know how to describe what's going on. All I know is something's going on. And to your point, there needs to be some serious conversations there. Jordan Love has all the talent, guys. We saw it last year. We've seen it leading into this season. But I was more concerned about that as that game played out. All right, one last thing. Can Josh Allen win the MVP? Can Josh Allen win the MVP?
I mean, could he? Yeah, I mean, we've seen these things flip, right? Last year around this time, Brock Purdy was by far the betting favorite, and I think Lamar was third or fourth. And 4 weeks later, by the time we got to week 14, it was, Lamar destroyed Purdy or whatever, week 15, whatever that was, and then it was over. So it ain't over till it's over. I mean, it was in Baltimore, but like Lamar balled out against the Bills, and Josh Allen had one of his worst games against Baltimore. If people look at the head-to-head thing, I don't think Josh Allen's stats are going to get close to Lamar's. I think the Ravens have reached a point where they realize our quarterback needs to run more, and I think there's a chance that Lamar throws for 4,000 yards and runs for 1,000. I mean, if that happens, how is he now? He's already won twice, and this is his best year, and he's not. You know what I mean? Like they've cut down on the run. Like this late bye, I think Lamar is running against the Chargers Monday night. I think Lamar is running against the Eagles, and then he's got the late bye. Like I don't know, man. I mean, he's going to throw for. He might throw for 35 touchdowns and run for 5 or 6.
He's at 10 or 25 now. You're telling me he's not going to throw for 10 more touchdowns between now and the end of the season?
I mean, he might throw for 40.
Yeah, I agree. I love what Allen did last week.
I think people are overthinking it.
Well, he was great last week, and the scramble for 26 and the touchdown against the Chiefs was great. And the Chiefs, you see, guys, Chiefs lose. We said this on the show. Whoop-de-doo. Let's talk about the playoffs, okay?
Right.
Chiefs lose. All right. No, they're not going to have the perfect season, but I guarantee you, good luck playing them in the playoffs. But yeah, the Josh Allen thing is interesting just because I think he is, a candidate. I don't think he's the guy. I still think it's Lamar, and I'm with you. When you project these numbers, they get silly. They get like, what other quarterback's going to come close to what he's doing right now? And I don't see anybody in the league. I mean, even Kyler Murray, who runs around like crazy, he's not doing this. He's not doing this.
Well, and the Derrick Henry thing has, I'm just telling you, just go look at the last 4 games. They're an average team on design runs now. Like they just are. So it's not like, oh, well, he had Derrick Henry have this. Derrick Henry ain't running for 2,000 yards. I got news for you. Derrick Henry ain't running for 1,700 yards. Like It's not happening. Like it's not happening. Like so, I just think, and also, like maybe Zay Flowers, is all pro, maybe, but like. Nobody else on that offense is going to be
outside of that. Yeah, who else?
Nobody. Like, I mean, if they want to say the center's all pro, they can. Like, I don't think he's better than Creed Humphrey, but like, whatever. Like, there's not going to be. It's not like remember Lamar won his first MVP in 2019, and the Ravens had like 15 Pro Bowlers and like 10 on offense, right? Like 3 or 4 offensive linemen went. Like Andrews went. Like everybody's going. Like the fullbacks going. Everybody's going. It's the Lamar Jackson show, man. So,
yeah.
I would wait for those odds to keep dipping. Like maybe they even dip another week, but then I would fire back on Lamar. Like he's going to have some big games down the stretch.
Jason Canfora, guys, follow him. It is In the Huddle. I'm Carl Dukes, and of course, Brian Baldinger, a part of this podcast. We are back to preview what's going to come this Sunday and Monday and talk about looking ahead to, believe it or not, heading into week 12 here of the National Football League. So lots more to get to. Jason, as always, man, great job. Have a great day, and we will talk to you guys later in the week. Take care, everybody.